Have we met?
Well, welcome back to Hello Earth, the podcast where we I don't know what we do exactly. I guess we just theorize. What's a good intro? What's our tagline? We need that good bio line.
It's where we ruffle feathers.
Yeah, apparently. Put on full display on TikTok this week. But hey, that means we're doing our job, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I guess like when we did start this, I feel like we are walking a fine line because I don't want to be a conspiracy grifter per se, but I think like as long as we really make this about just soaking in the information, I think we're avoiding that because, like, I don't know. You see a lot of people anymore just, like, pushing crazy shit with, and I've said it before, just all the certainty in the world. So, I don't know. There's too much going on to be that certain on anything. And, yeah, I don't know. I guess my point being is just we're doing the best we can, and we're not pushing anything on you.
Yeah, we're not peddling anything.
Right, yeah, we're selling no products. We're not selling Bigfoot t-shirts or anything.
We've literally made fun of ourselves 5 or 6 times about being experts of things that we're actually not.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discourse online about the whole expert versus, like, particularly with comedian podcasts and stuff like that. You know, people like, Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, these people. And I don't know. I think that I think too much information has been discarded for us to think like that, honestly. Like, I don't know. It's a slippery slope, I guess, because you do have to be responsible with the information you put out into the world. But also, you have to be responsible with the information you withhold from the world. So it's a weird back and forth.
And a third, you have to be responsible with how you digest this information and where you get it from. I wouldn't necessarily say two dudes doing a podcast is the source of truth, but we're going to give you our opinion, whether you like it or not.
We're here to have a good time until you go listen to our music. If you go listen to our music, all this can stop just like that. Give us something else to live for. Come on. But yeah, it's been a crazy week. Aside from all the politics going on in the world right now, I mean, with DOGE and all that, we've touched on that a little bit before. Something interesting I've seen on that is, I guess Elon Musk he's reached his limit with DOGE. He's out now.
Oh, he's out?
And,
okay.
Or at least on his way out, because as like a special employee or whatever, he could only do 100 days, I think. And it seems like everything that they've cut has just been, instead of all the promises of, giving back to the people, making things better for the commoner, it looks like they've just funneled all that money into the Pentagon, who's never passed an audit in its life. So it seems like the old 1-2 has been delivered at this point. I don't know. I've been a little sour and down about the world over the last several months, really. But it's just another thing, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what I expected, honestly, but it is what it is.
I have a small little hot takeaway from that in that subject. Once again, this is from Star Talk with Neil deGrasse. But he was talking about how they were slashing budgets within the NASA program, the specific head of science, where they're cutting and slashing there. And he gave it in his perspective, and please go watch him because he'll give you the accurate numbers of everything. But I'm paraphrasing it. It was basically saying we're focused on trying to cut money here, and it's like $10 to $20 million or something around that to that nature, which to us sounds like a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But when you look at other places where you can cut money, trillions of dollars is where it really counts in cutting things. Yeah. And when you cut things like NASA, you're cutting into being able to observe astronauts, or I'm sorry, not asteroids in space and protect Earth. So some of these things are kind of important, and we might not need to cut the $10-20 million jobs there with science and focus on like some of these other $1 trillion things.
Yeah. Do we have a plan for if asteroids are coming to Earth? Like, is there a way to protect ourselves from that? I know that's like, a Bruce Willis movie from the 90s, I think, but I assume that's not truth.
So I don't know the exact information here, but I think that the Chinese successfully landed on an asteroid.
Wow.
And were able to use some sort of propulsion. Like it lands and sort of locks in and then is able, in space, you can move things pretty easily with zero gravity.
Right.
You can send it off path by... I don't think it was like exploding rocks. I think it was more propulsion, like pushing it in a different direction.
Yeah, just blow it up. So instead of one big asteroid, there's like 10,000 small ones.
Yeah. But again, I'm not 100%. I'm about 80% sure that I read that a couple years ago. Right. So I think it is a thing. Like if we catch it soon enough, we have landed. I know that we've landed on them. So
that's so wild, and like that's got to be like all unmanned stuff, right? Like we don't have people landing on asteroids, right? Like that can't be tenable for the human condition.
Yeah, lots of brilliant mathematicians can calculate when to go and when to land and to catch it,
right?
And there's all kinds of stuff.
Well, we're not going to be doing that apparently, not anymore. Unless it's SpaceX, I guess.
Yeah, it says here NASA's Near Shoemaker was the first to orbit and land on an asteroid, touching down on Eros on February 12th, 2001. So that was quite...
Wow.
Was that before an Armageddon movie? Or maybe it was right when Armageddon came out, and that's what inspired them to do it.
Wait, they inspired the movie or the movie inspired them?
Yeah.
They were like, wait, that's a good idea, Bruce Willis.
It wouldn't be the first time that Hollywood has influenced.
1998. Yeah.
Okay, there you have it. Bruce Willis has influenced the scientists.
He's influenced us all, really, when it comes down to it. But yeah, it is disappointing to hear, like, I feel like Elon Musk probably shouldn't have had access to NASA funds to cut, just given the obvious problem there with being in SpaceX, the conflict of interest. But, I guess we're riding this rock of our own into the ground. So.
I didn't even put that together.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, I remember they made a big deal about all that at the beginning of all this between Tesla, SpaceX, all of these... all of the industries that he's a part of. I mean, he has direct access to his competitors, essentially, as far as anything that was government funded in that area. So, I don't know. I was hoping they'd be a little more responsible with it, but of course they weren't. Of course they weren't. Silly me. But, yeah. I'm not sure what to make of all this anymore. It's... I don't know. Full stop. I was a Trump voter this time around, and I guess like I was voting more for like a wrecking ball than I was the Republican candidate. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's been very difficult for me to just not fall into like a full doom spiral lately because it's just like, they're all in on it. Like nothing's changing. Nothing will be good. And I don't know. I guess that's kind of a Debbie Downer perspective, but I mean, it just is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. And everything else going on as far as when Trump gets elected, he says they're going to release all the Epstein files. They're going to release the JFK files, which they did, I guess, but haven't really heard anything about that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I know did you see where Kash Patel, the new director of the FBI, and Dan Bongino, who I don't know what the hell he does. He was a podcaster that made his way into the Trump administration at some point or another. They were asked on a interview recently about whether Epstein killed himself or not, and they were like, yeah, yeah, everything we've seen in the file, it really looks like that's what happened. And it's just like, okay. And Dan Bongino, he was a very right-wing podcaster personality, and I think ex-military, so maybe I'm underselling him a little bit, but before he was involved in the depths of it all, very, very pro find the truth on Epstein and all that stuff, and now he's a part of the administration and just right in line with all the talking points. So it's just, okay, guys, I'm sure that the guards just fell asleep and the cameras stopped working, and yeah, that all makes sense, sure. But yeah, I don't know. I guess bring me back to fun times. What have you been into the last week or so since we last spoke?
Man, I've been really just getting into some like music gear. I mean, this is completely different direction.
But let's go there, because
I've been getting into like looking into music gear. I'm trying to for the audience. I've been in hardcore metal, new metal, whatever. I've been in all kinds of different metal bands, hardcore bands.
A band named Dig Your Grave, so you can take away the inner workings there. Yeah.
Yeah. Zombie Guts, Swamp Witch.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff. And I still love it. I mean, I still listen to it all the time. Love it. So I'm not like throwing shade anywhere there, but my career of getting on stage and performing that, I think is finally over. And I want a more curated rig. So I'm looking at selling my 4x12 orange cab, the big flight case. I mean, that thing, I was talking to you earlier. I'm fairly certain it weighs like 500 or 600 pounds. It feels like it. About blew my back out trying to get it in the back of the truck just to sell it. But, and then I had before I had the PVJSX, and before that it was a 6505, and now I had that Jet City, which is sort of a flexible, amp head, but, I'm wanting to scrap I want to start all over. I'm selling my Kiesel too. Anybody that wants 7-string Kiesel,
hit them up.
Yeah. So I'm cleaning house of all my metal stuff, and I'm looking at getting something a little more warm, like a tweed type Fender amp chassis. Like I'm gonna make my own and put in a rack unit, and I'm building this like custom 212 Celestian greenback. I'm probably speaking Egyptian to some of y'all, and I apologize. But yeah, long story short, what I've been up to in the past couple of weeks is just I've been all into the music stuff. I want to change my rig up.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I've really been trying to lean into more music-based ways of life here lately because, I don't know, the current situation with work and everything. For those that don't know, I've been in a factory for the majority of my working life, and it's just I've gotten to a point where it's just so unfulfilling, personally, emotionally, spiritually, all of it. It's just I don't know. It's very easy to feel like a cog in a machine that doesn't give any kind of a shit about you.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm ready to make the push as far as music goes with the handoff and Hello Carolina, all of it. It's just, I don't know, now or never mentality for the most part. So if you're watching this, go find that music and listen to it, please.
Yeah. I'll say too, we had something locally here called Springfest, and I ran sound pretty much all day long, and it hit me. I'm like, I got to get back. I want to go back and play live music again. I really, really miss it. And there's still more fun to be had on stage. And I have noticed, and I don't know if y'all have, but there was a time it felt like, I don't know, like 2000 and I want to say like from between 2007 to like 2018, it just felt like this dead lull of live music. Mm-hmm. And it feels a lot more vibrant now than it did. Maybe it's because I'm older. I'm hearing about more venues and people playing, but it just feels like live music. There for a while, it was just like fucking DJs. I mean, no offense to, that, but, there's a time and place. But like live, I feel like a lot more people are craving that organic, just live music.
Well, there was a wave of that kind of those types of performances because it became more accessible in the 2000s for a lot of people. Anybody could be a DJ, really. At some, not anybody, but like I said, it was a lot easier for people to get a hold of that kind of stuff. And I think it's great that more people were able to go out and perform in whatever way that they wanted to. But I think live music always. It will prevail. Mm-hmm. It'll always come back, even if there is a lull. And I mean, COVID during those years was particularly harsh on the industry. And you saw bands just drop off the face of the earth. I mean, hell, us in the handoff, that's when we kind of really fell the hell off was, we had no opportunities to do much of anything at that point. And it's really hard to get back up on your feet after that.
That's when y'all should have started boning up on your TikTok dances and stuff.
Yeah, we refused, unfortunately.
I think that's probably a good call, maybe.
I don't think it would have fit the branding very well for us personally. But no, in all seriousness, we should have done something. Like, really, it's just, I know we've been on about this before, but just being online, especially during COVID, was so clutch. That's how a lot of bands came into the spotlight, and the lack of participation is how a lot of bands fell out of it. So there's something to TikTok, whether you don't got to do the dances and all that stuff, but you got to figure out how to make your songs trend, because everybody knows a handful of songs off of TikTok or Instagram that's just stuck in their head all the time, whether they even know the artist or not. They know the songs. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of content fits for those that don't know. The handoff personally is kind of grungy emo shit. It's hard to reconcile that with most of the trends that you see on TikTok. So I don't know. It's very difficult to figure out how to do that while still feeling authentic to the type of music that we make and the mood of it all. With Hello Carolina, I think it's kind of a lot easier for us to do stuff like that because it is just fun, poppy music, Yeah. Not that we have done a whole lot on TikTok other than, podcast clips and stuff like that. I know back in the early days of Hello Carolina, you were doing quite a bit on there, but you weren't doing the dances. No. If you would have been, we could have been to the moon by now, man.
Yeah. And, I love how vastly different those groups are. Like, because Hello Carolina was, in my mind, an itch that I just wanted to scratch. And I get those on occasion, and I still want to scratch that itch because I like going in that sort of non-committal, like we're not playing anywhere. We're just doing it for the sake of fun and having it in our Rolodex for when I'm too old to do anything and I can go back and listen to we have almost 2 hours worth of music.
Yeah. And
to listen to, and it's easy to crank them out. And so it's just a fun little itch to scratch. And then, the handoff is like this just raw, gritty rock grunge, like you said, grunge emo kind of.
Yeah, we get called a pop punk band a lot still. Like we played a show at the Rooster last Friday, and there was a guy that came up to me after the set and was talking about how I really like the pop punk vibe, and it's just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I don't hear that from us anymore, but apparently still people do. I mean, that's what we kind of were at the beginning of it all. It was very pop punk based, I guess, but
I don't know if that feels almost like cringy when somebody says that to you, but it's almost, I know that when we were playing, like back in the day, it was like metalcore or hardcore or death metal.
Yeah.
And when occasionally someone say, I love the new metal vibes, and I'm like, it like made my skin crawl when people tell me we sound like a new metal band.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I love most new metal bands, but I also acknowledge that there is a inherent corniness to some of it almost, like, and I don't know how intentional that was with bands. Like, I mean, I guess Limp Bizkit were obviously like leaning into it more than the other ones were. But then you see bands like I don't know. I always had trouble really getting into Korn because it's like, I don't know that y'all understand how you're being perceived, and I don't know if they're leaning into it or what. But on the other side of that same token is my favorite band is Linkin Park. I mean, I'm wearing a Mike Shinoda shirt right now, so I mean, I can't just blast new metal, all in all. But
I think we're about to blow up. If you just put the clip about Korn on here, we're gonna piss off so many people.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
No, I mean I feel like they do have a very cult fan base.
Yeah.
And I used to like Korn. I don't really listen to them a whole lot anymore. I saw them back in 2007, I think, in Atlanta. They were on the Family Values tour. It was like Korn and
are they doing new music?
I think
or still just playing their classics?
I know that they're still touring and stuff. I don't remember the last time I heard of a album that came out or anything. I mean, like I said, I haven't really kept up with them since probably the late 2000s, early 2010s, something like that. But I mean, as far as a stage show, that was one of the best concerts I've ever seen, just as far as what they were doing on stage. They had the pyro, they had the light show, they had the screens back behind them with all the psychedelic shit. He came out on stage in a kilt. I think he played a bagpipe at one point in time.
That's his MO for sure.
Korn isn't releasing new music anytime soon. Metalinjection.net. But it says they are working on the so that. All right, they're fucking, I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah, I don't know about that headline versus what I'm seeing in the actual article there. But
I'll lean in a little bit and say when I was in my prime of, when I first started getting into like heavy music, it started with like System of a Down, Rage Against the Machine, and Limp Bizkit. And then Korn was sort of like a small. I liked some of the Korn, like the Life is Peachy album. There were some bangers on there, but
sure.
Limp Bizkit was still my jam for what you, and that's my guilty pleasure. I loved them. Just for some reason, I dig them for sure.
Well, like I was saying, they understood what they were being perceived as. They leaned into it and they had fun with it. Yeah,
I mean, if I were to compare like a hardcore band closest to Limp Bizkit, it would be Attila, and I actually like Attila too because they got that same like vibe.
Well, yeah, I never got into them. What are they called? Are they that's the Crabcore band? Is that what they went by?
They're like death metal, hardcore, bro boy.
Yeah.
Kind of like motherfucker bitch, it's got the Fred Durst vibes to it, but there's a lot more screaming. It's a lot heavier, like and then it's like a heavy version of Limp Bizkit in my opinion.
Right.
But I would say Limp Bizkit in my mind is a little bit better than Korn. It just from fun, like the fun factor.
Yeah. Yep. I guess let's get into the meat and potatoes of it all. You mentioned the other day that you wanted to take a deeper dive into Sasquatch and Bigfoot, and I spent a good little while today checking out some videos, and I don't know that I believe any more than I did, but I'm definitely more intrigued. I didn't realize the scale of the sightings, I guess. Like, I remember saying earlier, there's been like tens of thousands of them reported around the world, apparently. And that was surprising to me. I always, for whatever reason, assumed that like the Bigfoot was just like maybe a handful of creatures out in the woods somewhere, but apparently all over the United States, in China, I saw there was some, but yeah, in the U.S. cases, scaling all the way from like Florida to Washington State, all the way across the country for the most part. And yeah, I mean, just
I think by pretty overwhelming, 344 in Florida.
Yeah, that's where I saw that there was a concentration, but there's like there might be a bit of a misconception, because I remember somebody talking about there being like a Florida skunk ape or something like that.
My God.
Like apparently that's give that a googs. But
okay, so
apparently that's a creature that could be being mistaken for Bigfoot, and I don't know what to think about that.
Only in Florida is there a creature called a skunk ape.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another cryptid. So it's not even something confirmed. What were they talking about then? They ain't got no pictures of the skunk ape, or is that just another name for Bigfoot?
I think that's one of the plastic models that are set up in front of the zoo somewhere.
It says it's known for its strong and unpleasant smell, which is described as similar to rotting food or eggs.
Huh.
What in the hell? So it says down there it's basically the cousin of Bigfoot. So I guess it's an unconfirmed thing. I guess I got that wrong then, or whoever was talking on that YouTube video earlier was wrong. I don't know. But
I feel like if the Tiger King had a nickname, that would be his nickname.
The skunk ape.
The skunk ape.
Right.
Carol Baskin.
Yeah.
I would say from my research, the most of the sightings, I always hear about them happening in the West, the western part of it, particularly around like Mount Rainier, in the Washington area, right. Oregon, Washington, Wyoming, Montana. There's a lot, but you have to think about the fact, and we talked about this 3 or 4 episodes ago about how much open space there is, right. And it's mostly around the western part of the area, which sort of kind of circulates back into the point of saying, so, we discover a new species of fish all the time, and because it's so hard to get down there and you can't see a damn thing. And if you think about, look at that, 2 listings in Alexander County.
Whoa! Most recent in 2013?
That's for our audience. We live in Alexander County in North Carolina.
None in
Catawba.
Oh, man. We developed them out.
But, so, back to my point, there is a vast open space of the potential. I'm going to just be a fence sitter, because I don't believe one way or the other. I'm basically agnostic to the subject.
Right.
I see footage all the time, and I'm like, yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But I'm never just like the Leonardo DiCaprio looking at the screen,
Yeah.
That right there, that right there is sad. I'm never that guy.
Yeah.
So,
well, that and just seeing what some people assume to be a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot is just so intriguing to me. I watched one of the videos I watched earlier was just a History Channel YouTube page, and it was like the 13 most compelling sightings or something along those lines. And there was one that was just like a thermal image of something moving through some trees. Then there's like another one where there's like, it's at like a music festival or something, and the camera's probably, I don't know, 50 yards away from this tree, and you can see this little thing like swinging in the tree, and they're like, oh, it's a baby Bigfoot. And it's like, okay. I mean, to be fair, I don't know what else would be swinging in a tree like that in America, where we don't have an abundance of, primates running around or anything. So I don't know what these things could be, but it's just real weird that people are just jumping the gun on what to assume it is.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of, I've watched a few documentaries of perceived Sasquatch experts, those that almost, that's like what they do, is just go around looking for Sasquatch, learning about them, observing.
Well, there's like an entire organization I had seen earlier mentioned. It was like basically an entire group of people that's their life mission, is to find Bigfoot. And it's just, I don't know, how do you expect to even, I don't know. It's just, are they going out into the woods and just filming out all the time? Because that seems dangerous. And what do you do if you find them? Because you see people with the camera from, 50 yards, 100 yards, whatever, and it's like some little thing that's in a field, and they're like, oh my God. But they don't get closer. And I don't know that they should, even if they can. Because, we don't know if there is I guess another race of, they're primates out there, or some type of, the theory is that they could be some kind of split off from like Neanderthals or something like that. That's kind of the Reddit side of things, I guess, is they're like some kind of Neanderthal hybrid that's still out there somewhere and just staying secluded away from the rest of us. But it's like, then what are they doing in these fields next to these housing developments and stuff like that? It's like, what?
I think there are some that are legit potential, could be evidence, and then there's quite a few that, just like when we look in the sky and see things that we think are UFOs, it's just a fucking airplane. And I think in those instances, a lot of times, and I think even Joe Rogan made a point in one of his podcasts about it, like, and he's even said, like, I've seen lots of bears get back up on their back two legs and walk around.
Right.
And that could very well be something that you're seeing. Are bears, just black bears on their back two back feet, but then for every one of those, there's others where the way they're moving, the mechanics, the size, if you compare it, there was one piece of footage where they captured on video Sasquatch walking, putting his hand on a branch like this, and then moving forward through the woods. And when he had his hands there, he moved some of the bark off the tree because it was sort of a rotten tree. Right. They went up where he moved. Where that hand was is like 10 feet in the air. So,
stuff like that is a little more compelling. And I've seen they talk about the footprints and stuff that they find a lot too.
Okay, Kelsey's got something highlighted there. This is just a description of a Sasquatch sighting. Where is it?
It's in Michigan, I believe.
In Michigan, it says the animal was roughly 10 feet up the tree when it jumped down. At no time it was facing the two humans, the point at which they got the clearest look at it when it was ascending the embankment. They could see the hairy back and big butt cheeks pretty clearly for a few seconds.
But it also says the animal was not on all fours. It raced up the slope on two legs, but hunched forward.
Man, that's funny.
Yeah, I don't.
So he got a big badonkadonk.
Right.
But, another thing, too, is, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, the experts have found patterns of things that they do in different countries from different people, where they'll do sort of like their own version of herding or locating or marking things.
Right.
And they take these little trees and like 8 feet up where no human can reach, or 10 or whatever it is. They'll break a branch and bend it in a specific direction.
Right.
And it's sort of like giving markers or direction or instruction for other Sasquatch. They've also captured them throwing rocks and stuff. But they're very aloof. Like from the videos that I've seen, they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be anywhere near. Just from the one, I've not seen any instances. Maybe a couple rare ones, and it probably wasn't Sasquatch. It was a crazy human in a suit, but like being antagonistic,
right.
you know. So, yeah.
What do you think about like the hoaxes of it all? Like if it is a guy in a suit and stuff, like, is there really enough incentive out there, you think, for people to orchestrate those types of videos? Because, I mean, yeah, you might get some views, but then you're just going to get, criticized all to hell. And it's not like you can build a YouTube channel off of multiple hoaxes or anything. So it's not like you're going to reach monetization or anything like that. And
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure somebody has dressed up in a Bigfoot suit to fuck with their friend or something like that. And I mean, I'm sure that's how some of these get born, but I don't know. I don't see the reasoning behind it, I guess. Because, I mean, I don't know what they're gaining from it if there are all these people just dressing up in suits and telling their friend to stand across the field and take a video of them or whatever. But at the same time, like, that's definitely what a lot of it looks like. And even on that History Channel video I was talking about earlier, that's what at least like 3 of those videos probably were. But I don't know. There are more compelling videos than others, but nothing that's that compelling.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's weird to me that it's survived this long as a theory because, I mean, people have been talking about Bigfoot since 70s, 60s, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was the 50s was that famous video that was caught, and there was that one walking, and it turned around and looked and got that famous, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like kicked off or I would say made the subject mainstream.
Right.
But yeah, it's I mean, I went into this thinking that maybe I'll have something compelling to say, but I'm really coming back out with more questions than answers.
Right. I mean, I don't know. It's fascinating to think about, but also just, of course, there are things out there that we're unfamiliar with. It's strange that they would be so elusive as far as being caught on video in any clear fashion. So I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that you can mistake a bear on its back legs for a Bigfoot. I mean, I'm sure some people could, but I don't know. It doesn't seem very similar to me as far as like the way that they walk around and just like the general movements. Bears, when they're up on their back legs, it's like their front arms. They're not very humanoid like, I guess. It's not. It just doesn't look the same to me, and I hear that a lot about, that's just a bear. It's just I don't know. I don't know if that's really what it looks like, but I don't know. There's bound to be stuff out there, like we were talking a couple episodes ago. I mean, there's plane crashes that don't get found in these forests for decades and decades and decades. So if we can lose stuff like that, then there's definitely stuff that can hide out there. And then on top of that, you have all the national park stuff. There's plenty of conspiracies about national parks in general. Or, whether it's people that just disappear in them all the damn time. I remember seeing something on TikTok not too long ago about, apparently there's these stairways in the middle of these national parks that just go down and down and down. And I don't know if anybody's braved them and gone down yet or not, but I'm desperately awaiting those videos to come out.
Yeah, keep your ear to the ground on that one.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's fascinating because, I mean, if there was, I mean, I don't know. I guess that would assume that the government is, I don't know, doing some like work in bunkers or something out there that they want to keep hidden from the public. And I mean, that would be a good place to do stuff like that if that's what you're doing. But it's just, there'd be so many other signs, I think.
Man, that reminds me so much of Fallout 76. Did you ever play that game?
We played a little bit,
Yeah.
not a whole lot. I was never super into Fallout, but I tried it out a little bit.
Or actually, the show Fallout, where
I did watch the show. That was
where they, the government went through and strategically put all these bunkers and got all these companies to buy in on it and invest.
Well, see, and like that's something that I'm pretty sure has happened. At least I remember there was a show, Jesse Ventura. He was in the WWF for a long time, and I'm sure other wrestling organizations. And he then went on to become the governor of Michigan or something like that. But he had a show that was all about conspiracy theories. And one of the episodes I remember was him going around to these different mountains where there would be these big fucking doors and gates, and sometimes even like military personnel outside guarding them. And they were...
That's where the orcs are.
Yeah. I mean, that was supposedly undisclosed military locations or something along those lines, but yeah, I don't know.
It's the mines of Moria.
Right. I think Jesse Ventura, as far as his opinions on conspiracies, I don't think he's regarded much higher than like Alex Jones and those types of people these days. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this whole thing. I know something I would like to get into for an episode eventually is like the Skinwalker Ranch stuff.
Yes.
Which is...
Yeah, we need to cover that.
Yeah, not the same, but similar ilk with the cryptids and whatnot. And I don't know what to think about all that. I guess my base understanding of it is that it's either like aliens or like, I guess the skinwalkers themselves are like these like doppelganger creatures that can like shapeshift into people and stuff like that. And
I've started to see these pop up all over TikTok.
yeah.
And like showing...
You're not supposed to say the word.
Which word?
The word you've said a few times now.
Beetlejuice?
Skinwalker?
Yeah, you're not supposed to say it.
Oh, am I summoning them? Is that the
You're
deal?
not supposed to say it at all.
Well, it has been said. They shouldn't have named it Skinwalker Ranch then, douchebags.
Freaking me out. I got to go home now.
I'll say Beetlejuice the second time. All we have to do is say it one more time. And that might happen too. I kind of hope that happens.
Yeah. Just to spice things up a little bit. Why not? I'd love to have Michael Keaton on the podcast.
Yes, I would. I love him.
Shout out Michael Keaton. Hit us up.
In that vein, can't you do the face swap thing with your dog? Is that possible?
The face, like, just
you know what I'm
like,
talking about? Like you can do this face swap thing, and it was built for like, I think it started maybe in Snapchat where two people side by side, and it'll take my face and sort of put it there and their face in here. And now it's where it can, I think there's some technology with the app or whatever in TikTok where, and maybe it's not in TikTok, they do it before they put it in TikTok where they take their face and then swap it with things that aren't human beings like dogs. And that was the first thing I always do when I see something that's scary as hell is I immediately try to debunk it in my mind of what it could be. And the first thing I do when I see people show me the SKINWALKERS with DOGs, I don't know why I just spelled out dogs.
Yeah,
but
you can say that.
Okay. The dogs.
Pretty sure.
Was... the first thing I thought was that somebody face swapped their dog. It was like they took the dog and swapped it with a human. But.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's possibly what some of the videos and stuff are. I remember earlier I was looking into the whole Bigfoot thing, big feet thing. I don't know, but there was one YouTuber. It was like Swan Lake Sasquatch or something like that. And this is a guy that apparently just walks out through the woods pretty often on, I don't know if it's his property or if he's exploring or what, but I was led there by Reddit, who the people on that particular thread was talking about how this is like one of the most credible YouTube channels that you can see for Bigfoot sightings. And I watched, I checked like the most popular videos and stuff and literally saw nothing. And there's people that'll take these stills from the video and like it'll zoom in on this space between two branches where like it kind of looks like something's there, maybe, but also like it could just be like any number of things. And I just don't know. It's so hard to take these people seriously.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how it is with any conspiracy, really. It's always the craziest, loudest people that get any attention. So like, even if they are pointing out something that is true, it's the wrong messenger, I guess. Yeah. And not to say that, we would be the right messenger or anything if we do stumble upon our truth that we so desperately seek here at Hello Earth. But I don't know. It's just, I'd like to see people be a little bit more reasonable about everything, I guess. And I don't know what that looks like, because I guess it is hard to say that there's a mysterious primate creature in the woods and have really any credibility behind you. Because I mean, what do we want? Like the government to say it, that yes, Bigfoot's real, we found it, here's our radar imaging of the forest where we found this nest of big feet, and I mean that's never gonna happen. Yeah, well,
it's almost embarrassing to the point where I quote stuff. Were you gonna?
Yeah, Kelso, go back real quick. Wanted to actually, since I saw it, the top 13 Bigfoot sightings right there. Go ahead and click on that real quick. And sparse throughout there, we definitely don't have to watch this whole thing. It's an hour long, but if you can just find some of the Bigfoot sightings on there, I'm sure it's probably the highlighted areas. Actually, go back to those feet, the footprints real quick. You were hovering over it on the timeline forward. Oh, actually, yeah, let's watch this video. This was one of the more compelling ones as far as just how this guy reacts and everything.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's still blurry as hell. I assume it's from, years back with the way this camera looks, but yeah, I don't know. That was one of the more compelling ones, and even that one is not very compelling.
He's just, I love how he just, like, there's a four-wheeler going down a creek.
Yeah.
And there's just Bigfoot, just kind of,
right.
What's up, guys? We're just going to walk through here, not even look at it.
Yeah, and one of the guys on this show, he's talking about how, like, oh, that can't be Bigfoot, because why would he be right there with all this noise from the ATV? And then the other guy's like, but the babbling brook is covering up the ATV sound, so maybe he didn't know. And it's just like, I don't know. What are we doing here, guys? But yeah, for that one, like I said, I think that was probably the most compelling one out of the 13 that they show here. But they also show these footprints that they find in or around a lot of these areas. And apparently there is a pretty signature spot. Like, I think there's like a hinge sort of like halfway right here that they can see like a very distinguished pattern in over them, which I don't really see it on that one. But yeah, I don't know. History Channel's YouTube page, top 13 Bigfoot sightings caught on camera, if you want to know what we're talking about. I mean,
that looks pretty wild right there.
Yeah, but that just also, I don't know, that kind of gives me man in suit vibes too. Yeah. Like, and I know I just said I don't know why people would do that, but that's what that sort of looks like to me. There you can see the kind of crest along the middle of the foot there that I've seen them talk about a lot.
Yeah, I see that.
And I just don't know. It's very interesting. And I mean, I think it's definitely possible that something's out there, but I don't know. I guess why would we care, honestly? Why does it matter? Because I mean, people can make all the fuss about it they want, but like, as far as like government organizations that would have the funding to actually go in there and do any kind of deep research into the topic, it's just like not worth it, I guess, to some degree.
Here's my pessimistic view on it. I think some of us would care enough to say, let's catch them and put them in a zoo and make money off of them. Like that's the sadistic human side
No,
of it.
I mean that's what would happen if we did find them, as long as they.
But I was going to make this point that I was going to say just a minute ago. Again, it's embarrassing the amount of times that I quote Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he
Smart
talked
guy.
about this subject, and I respect his opinions on things. He's fairly level. Probably the most level-headed dude I know. That's like a science nerd.
Yeah.
And he was saying he had a conversation with a man that just completely believed in Sasquatch, and he said, "Well, if Sasquatch exists or Bigfoot exists, however you want to refer to it, there has to be at least two of them. There has to be a male and a female, and they have to reproduce, and they have to have children. And we're seeing all these sightings everywhere." And he's like, "See, the guy was saying to Neil was like, you're just like every other non-believer. Like, just I can't believe you're pushing back on this." He's like, you should be in wonder about these things because you're a scientist yourself and exploring. He was like, "Look, I'm not saying I don't believe, but instead of getting mad at me for you not believing what you're saying, go hog tie a couple of them and bring them down to town square so we can see them."
Right.
So, I mean, instead of getting mad for me not believing, just give me some really, really good evidence is basically what I was saying.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely a lack of that at this point, despite the decades of interest and intrigue surrounding it. So,
yeah.
But, all right. So before we get wrapped up and whatnot, I wanted to touch on the Diddy case again a little bit.
Okay.
Which I don't think touch on and Diddy should be in the same sentence these days, but they started the, I think, third week of the trial this week. There's been a few interesting things, but I think it's kind of starting to slip away a little bit as far as my faith in any serious repercussions coming out of this. It doesn't seem like a lot of the first 2 weeks has been taken very seriously. They're talking about things like really just degenerate stuff. And I understand they're building a case. They're trying to make him look like the freak that he is so that they can then infer that he was probably at least likely responsible for all of the other things that they want to involve him with. But I know like some of the highlights so far is that, which I guess a content warning here, but that he likes, well, let's just start here. Cassie, she goes on and testifies last week and confirms a few interesting things. But I guess the biggest takeaway is that there was a trend of him hiring male prostitutes to be with her while he watched. That was his big thing. He's essentially just like a super rich cuck as far as what the record's stating right now. And, he likes to have other men's sperm rubbed on his nipples. He likes to put applesauce on cheeseburgers is something else that came out in the courts right after that.
That's random.
Right. It is. And that's kind of my point is just like, they're just spitballing. It seems like that's my concern with it right now is like so much of it. They're just talking about things that are completely legal.
Yeah.
A little weird, but completely legal. And they're just essentially not slandering, but they're just driving his name into the dirt. And I think that that's all that's really going to come from this, honestly, at this point, or at least that's what I'm worried about. I'm no expert, not a lawyer, but it's just with the level of allegations that everybody expected to be coming up, it's really weird that they've spent this amount of time talking about this kind of stuff. I guess one of the more interesting sides of the case that has come out is one of those male prostitutes. His name is Jonathan Odie, and he is from Miami, which was one of Diddy's many stomping grounds. And back in 2018, he was arrested for having a shootout with police in one of Trump's hotels.
I remember that, watching that in a documentary.
Yeah, and what he said that year when they were interrogating him was essentially that, he was Diddy's sex slave, and that he would have sex with Cassie while he watched, and have sex with the both of them, and he was kind of smeared as just a whack job at that point in time, and nobody really took him seriously. And he even went so far as to detail some of the drugs. There's like a signature pink cocaine that apparently Diddy was around a lot, among other things, I'm sure. And I went and I listened to a pretty good chunk of the interrogation video from 2018 with this Jonathan Odie guy. And he goes pretty deep on a few fronts. He talks about how the reason that he went into the Trump hotel was because he wanted to warn Trump that the Illuminati was after him and that they were going to have an attempt on his life. And I don't know how you do that by having a shootout with police in the lobby, but that's what he says in the interrogation video. And he even references the Illuminati card game and says that's how he learned about it, which... that's something that gets brought up every few years in one way or another when something bad happens. There's always supposedly like you can see the events happen in the cards. And this was a game that was released back in the 80s, I think. Mm-hmm. But he talks about the Illuminati and how Diddy was a part of the Boule, which apparently is, according to him, I guess the black chapter of the Illuminati for the most part.
Okay.
And it seems, the way he talks about it, it seems like it's like a huge secret or something like that. But apparently it's like a very traceable thing to this fraternity at, I can't remember which college, but it was one of the historically black colleges. And it's just... I don't know. It kind of gives me like Skull and Bones vibes, like you hear about that with former presidents and politicians and, CEOs, and how they're often a part of the same fraternities at these colleges. And this just seems like another version of that, where it's just like, honestly, what it boils down to is a very successful fraternity that produces a lot of high quality members. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I would be willing to listen to people explain it a little bit more, I guess, as far as the dirt behind the scenes on all that. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on the whole Illuminati thing? Do you think there's a cabal of fucking politicians and powerful people out there, or is it just kind of the obvious? There's obviously some group, I think, that not controls the world, but there are people that have been in their jobs for a long time that probably do have a lot of power over certain industries and stuff like that. And I think it's probably a little more legitimate than people give it credit for, but
I think it's totally plausible to have the old boys club in some capacity. It may not be referred to as the Illuminati. Mm-hmm. It may be something else, but I think there's lots of groups like that at every level of society, whether it be like just in our county, there might be some Masonites, the Freemasons.
Well,
yeah. I mean, we can go down another rabbit hole there and talk about that. But I mean, well, I'm almost afraid to talk about a few things that my grandfather was involved with, just because I don't want other people to know that I know some of the language.
No,
so I'm just going to refrain from going there but I will say that I do believe that the Illuminati could totally be a thing.
Yeah.
And I think there is the old boys club in just about every capacity.
Right.
And well, for one, money and power is what's going to drive all these things. And I mean, already what's visible to us, and this is not even Illuminati, but I really don't think that we are able to make or to choose what we get and want to some capacity. We're being given what even though we feel like we have free will. Right. This is more psychological than anything, yeah. But I feel like the Jeff Bezos of the world, the Elon Musk, they're shoveling all the shit down our throats.
Yeah.
And even though we feel like we have a choice, I mean, we're buying everything on Amazon and everyone's buying Teslas, and it's just like there's some point where it's not enterprise free enterprise and more monopoly in some capacity but that's just on a visible level.
Yeah.
We have another, like, the Freemasons, Illuminati, where we're probably making other subconscious decisions and we don't even know it, just because they have a lot of money and time and energy and power.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, I've heard a lot of, honestly, like, crossover between, like, Freemasonry, Illuminati. Like, apparently they're one and the same. I've heard that they fight each other, and that's like the big good versus evil. It's all very, very speculative type of stuff that I don't know what to believe with any of that. I mean, I do think the Freemasons are a little strange as an organization, and just like the widespreadness of it all. But I mean, I've known Freemasons that seemed like pretty normal people, just like good folks. So I mean,
I will go on the record and say, like, I think vastly most of it is benign. Like, but they are very cryptic and code. Like, they have a lot of codes and stuff.
Yeah, and there's not many reasons that you stay so secretive, honestly. There's probably something not so savory at the foot of that all. I mean, I've heard that, like, Freemasonry ties back to, like, the Knights Templar and stuff like that. And I guess, like, to go to I was reading a book not too long ago where it was basically alleging that all of that ties back to, like, these Greek mystery schools and stuff like that I guess have supposedly controlled the world from the beginning of time. And I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that pans out over all these years, but
and it for all we know, like, it could just be that these cryptic things is just fun and they're just fucking with us. Like, there's just like they're probably like System Link playing video games in and they're using all these, like,
it's a LAN party.
Yeah, they're having LAN parties at the community theater, or whatever.
I mean, maybe that's what they
building.
mean when they say that we're living in a simulation, is not, necessarily the computer generated simulation, but we are being just manipulated at that level, I think. And that's like a part of simulation theory. I think I could believe if that's a part of it. I don't know. I guess I just wanted to get your thoughts on the whole Illuminati thing.
I would love to unpack it some more, like, in another episode for sure.
Yeah, we could definitely go deeper on it. It's so hard to know what to even read into, because, like, I don't know, you get so much weird religious shit tied in with it too, and, like, people start screaming, like, Satan, they're doing, baby burnings at the Bohemian Grove, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, which the Bohemian Grove, that is that's a weird place for sure, but I mean, I would hope that just in broad daylight, where, Alex Jones snuck in there in the 90s and got video of a bunch of people in robes doing a bunch of crazy shit. And supposedly that was politicians and stuff. And, to his credit and to the credit of the conspiracy theorists, they are burning something at the foot of a huge effigy of a fucking, like, owl god or something like that. And I mean, it is.
People do weird shit, man.
It is very fucking strange. So, I mean, there's something there, and that's the problem, is, like, I feel like at the highest power, or at the highest, levels of power, there's just these, like, really weird motherfuckers, and I don't know how they got there, but, I mean, just because they're weird doesn't mean that they're doing satanic rituals, I guess, is my point. And, I mean, Bohemian Grove in particular, I guess if you wanted to look at that as charitably as possible, it's just like a weird kind of LARPing thing that they're doing, probably, like, and I mean, it may have some historical relevance to power structures of the past or something like that, but I don't know. I think it's time to stop being so fucking weird, guys. Let's button it up.
I played Skyrim and done things for Daedric lords many times, so I mean, maybe there's something to it. They're just getting their boon.
Right. But yeah,
you just have to trade it for dragon bone.
All right. But I guess just to kind of wrap up here back on the Diddy trial, that's still all ongoing, and I'm sure I haven't done it justice here, and I hope that it's being taken a little bit more seriously in court than what I'm currently aware of, but it's just, I just don't know what to think about any of it. There's more serious stuff coming out, but it's all coated with conspiracy stuff. So
yeah, and I think more anything, the big point is, can we skip the nipple rubbing and the applesauce burgers, and like let's talk about like what.
Yeah, I want to talk about the supposed 90 terabytes of video footage that was apparently captured by him at his different houses and hotel rooms and stuff like that. Because, I mean, apparently that's real. Apparently the video footage is real, and you can kind of link this into the same kind of shit as Epstein and stuff, as like a potential like blackmail operation with celebrities and powerful figures. And, I mean, less nipple rubbing and more actual,
footage
to the conversation.
Show me the baby. I don't want the labor pains.
Right, exactly. But all right, we'll stay on the Diddy case. We'll stay on the Bigfoot case. We're gonna do it all. We're gonna find the Illuminati. We're gonna figure it all out one day.
And I also kind of want to start a LARPing-esque thing in the park where we just pretend to be in a Templar or something and just freak everybody out just for fun.
It would be fun to just do it like once every 3 or 4 months or something, and just like see if more people start showing up or anything like that. See if we can build a little cult. Yeah,
and we can just build the scraps of the cabinet that you're building for your guitar.
Yeah, exactly. We'll all wear robes and just like go home and just freak everybody the hell out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they all start following us like, so what do we do next? I'm like, I don't know. Go home. Like the Forrest Gump movie.
Just shrug.
I'm going to go home now.
I think it's time to go home now.
Maybe we can like make alternate versions of Hello Carolina songs and kind of subliminally bleed them into other people's minds this way.
Yeah.
The cult of Hello Carolina.
However, I can spoon feed you my music.
Yeah, absolutely. But all right, I think that'll do it for us this week. We'll see you next time, I reckon.
Later.
Hello, Earth. Have we met?